Walking. Walking is so normal we usually don't think about it. It gets us places one foot at a time, but we may be doing it all wrong. Is the big shoe industry on a quest to destroy our feet? Are they purposefully squishing our toes into a jumbled mess to cripple us? Or is it just fine? I used barefoot shoes for 6 years, and while they have a lot of benefits, there is also a potential red flag that you need to know about. One that made me watch my steps sometimes. Quite literally. If you wanna try barefoot shoes, watch this, so you don't end up shaking and crying on top of a mountain. When you hear barefoot shoes, you might be visualizing this monstrosity, the 5 fingers. These were one of the top biohacker things around a decade ago, but they also make you look extremely weird. So let's skip the finger separation. Modern barefoot shoes are more like regular shoes with 3 main differences: sole, toe box, and flex. They have a super thin, flexible sole with no drop, which means the heel is at the same height as the toes. No cushion, you walk like you're barefoot. They have a wide toe box, not a pointy tip. Your toes need to fan out naturally, not get squished like in regular shoes. This makes you actually use your toes to walk again. They're also very bendy, more like a sock than a shoe in most cases, which makes you use your entire foot while moving. Nothing is holding it in place. They also come in a lot of shapes and sizes. For regular walking, I believe the Merrell Vapor Glove 7 is the best shoe ever made. It's super lightweight, very flexible, very bendy. Has a thin sole, it's super breathable, and it's basically like you're wearing nothing at all.
It allows for maximum mobility. Feels like I'm wearing nothing at all.
Quit it!
Now, if only they brought back the undyed version of this, I would be so all over it. For date nights and other special occasions, I have these Vivo Geo Court Men in white leather, and they have this nice looking cork interior and are generally a higher quality shoe. Still pretty bendy, but not as much as the Merrells, and they are thicker, plus they obviously have the wide toe box. And I alternate daily between those two and my recent find, the Bilenkas, which are canvas shoes, not leather, and they're a little bit tougher, and the sole is, in this case, still bendy, but it's actually a little bit thicker, so some of the little pebbles don't get through, and this is gonna be important later on. But I went through at least 20 different types in the last 6 years. I also have a special pair for winter hikes. These are a little bit tougher, a little bit higher, and better insulated from the cold, but still the sole is incredibly thin and they're pretty bendy too. These were the shoes that I used for my Wim Hof Method expedition, where I climbed a very, very cold mountain at minus 20 degrees Celsius, wearing just shorts, well, and obviously these shoes. First, I'm gonna walk you through the benefits of barefoot shoes and why I believe they're great. But then we're gonna talk about why I switch back to regular thick sole shoes every now and then. There is a potential red flag when it comes to barefoot shoes that most people seem to miss, and it's actually tied to your HRV. The main benefit is a more natural walk, better posture, being more grounded and connected to the surface you walk on. You're also a little bit more ready for plyometrics. So all in all, it strengthens your legs big time. You're no longer bouncing around on foam cushions, but instead you're using your entire foot, your calves, your shins to move around, and that makes a ton of difference. Your foot bends and flexes in every direction, which makes it stronger, and then your calves, yeah, talk about those calves. It also makes walking without any shoes a natural next step, at least for some occasions, and being completely grounded to the surface, to the earth, has proven to be beneficial for multiple reasons. So whenever you can, you should be walking completely barefoot, and then the next best thing would be the barefoot shoes. Barefoot shoes also make the soles of your feet incredibly tough. And that can come in handy when you decide to walk on things that normal people would just run away from. You just go right through those broken seashells like a madman smiling. And speaking of mad, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel, because I will be sharing more of this journey and more of my experiments on this channel this year. So there is a lot to come. But there is an issue with barefoot shoes. Your feet get much tougher, yes. But it's not like you're completely impervious to pain anymore. It just moves your pain threshold. So you feel the pain in your soul, but you don't care. Regular shoes insulate you from the ground almost completely. And while walking in barefoot shoes or barefoot, every little pebble, rock, or sharp element of the pavement sends a little ping to your brain saying, hey, I'm here. This is a stimulus. Now imagine adding 10,000 stimuli like that or more to your day. Something your brain wasn't really processing before at all, and now it has to deal with all that extra information. Last year, I felt pretty tough. So I decided to climb La Concha in Marbella, Spain, completely barefoot. It's a pretty difficult terrain, so it was quite a challenge. And this really ties to why barefoot shoes are not the best choice every single time. The climb went through a pebble-ridden road, a pine forest, rocky sand paths, sharp rocks, and ultimately even cactus needles. Man, I hated those. 4 hours later, and the climb normally takes around 2 hours, I was sitting at the top of the mountain and shaking because my nervous system was so shot, so overstimulated from all the little pins and needles at the bottom of my feet that I just had to shake it off. It's a little bit like the TRE exercise where you're voluntarily shaking like this and that relieves the pressure and the tension in the nervous system. So my feet were fine. I didn't get any cuts or bruises or anything like that at the bottoms of my feet, but the nervous system wasn't. I really needed a longer break after that from any kind of overstimulation. I basically took almost a week of any kind of exercise because it was just too much. And I've been already walking in barefoot shoes for 4.5 years. Fuck, maybe I should just go down. I linked the full video from that climb in the description of this video, so if you want to check it out, go do it. But that's not the only thing, because I was also running in barefoot shoes, running quite a lot. And I realized that for some distances, usually longer than 7K, it wasn't really the best idea to use barefoot shoes. At least for me and my nervous system. Last year, I ran a half marathon in barefoot on a pretty pebbled road. It was like a lot of those small stones everywhere, and even though none of them were really sharp, they still kind of pinched your foot from the bottom every single time. And when you're running, you're taking a lot of steps very fast, so that stimulation is not as slow as with normal walking. It's actually bump to the bottom of your feet every time. And even though it was a chill run at a very slow pace, even for me, and I don't really run fast, I had to stop. I couldn't finish it. I had to walk off for long parts of the run because I was just shot, completely overstimulated again, even though it was this time not completely barefoot. I was wearing those barefoot shoes. So now for runs longer than 7K, I usually take a regular running shoe, but this one has a much smaller drop. I know it might not be visible by looking at this thick sole right here, but it has about maybe 0.5 centimeter of the drop, and it has a pretty wide toe box, so the toes aren't squished, and it's a much better choice than regular running shoes that are often very pointy. So what do I do now? I'm a big believer in barefoot shoes. I walk in them daily. My daily shoe is this model I have it in gray and black, but there are some exceptions where these shoes are just not as good anymore. One is skateboarding. You need a thicker sole and you need a lot less bendiness in the shoe for basically being able to do tricks on the skateboard. And the other one is running. Longer than 7K, I just take regular shoes, but I still do run shorter runs in barefoots, including sometimes sprints, if I know that the pavement is gonna be smooth enough and I don't want my foot during running to get used to regular shoes and to bouncy soles basically. So whenever I can, I still do runs in barefoots just to have that natural running form stay with me. If you want to start with barefoot shoes, start slow. Wear them for a couple hours and then go back to regular shoes. And it will take quite a lot of time for your soles to stop hurting and for your calves to stop hurting and being sore. And that happens a lot because you change the muscles you use to walk completely when switching to barefoot shoes for a much more natural stance. So even for that reason alone, and for the grounding part and for the part of massaging your feet as you walk daily, I believe barefoot shoes are an awesome option. Your feet will first hate you, but then, trust me, they will grow to love you. Because we don't have all those little bones and tendons in the feet for them to not be used. We need them to be flexy. If you keep them inflexible in the same position with squished and jumbled toes like that, just to keep that little pointy tip that is supposedly the pinnacle of fashion design, then down the road, many years later, your feet will be just useless. So are you gonna try? Let me know in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and keep on walking.